Exodus 4:24. At a lodging place on the way, the Lord met him, Moses, and sought to put him to death. Then Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and touched Moses' feet with it and said, "Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me." So he let him alone. It was then that she said, "A bridegroom of blood," because of the circumcision. So the question is, why did God seek to kill Moses, and what is going on in this story? Well, admittedly, this is one of the harder stories to interpret, as I found. But what we can gather from the story is it was because Moses failed to circumcise his son that God sought to kill him. But the question is, why is this so important? Well, ultimately, it came down to disobedience. See, God was about to use Moses to proclaim to a hardened Pharaoh that he had to obey God and let his people go. And the symbolism here is quite amazing. See, in verses 22 to 23, right before this passage, God is declaring Israel as his own firstborn and says to Pharaoh that he would kill his firstborn if he didn't let Israel go. So God's firstborn. So in a sense, God was saying, "Free my firstborn, or else your firstborn, Pharaoh, will perish." And then we come to Moses' case and his firstborn, which is God would not use Moses if he was going to be like Pharaoh with his heart hardened. So he had to do the right thing unto his son, his firstborn, by circumcising him and identifying him as part of God's firstborn, which is the nation of Israel. Now, this was hugely significant as it was a central part of the covenant that God made with Abraham in Genesis 17:9-14. So as for the rest of the story, Zipporah is clearly upset. It would seem that she had a really strong distaste for the practice of circumcision, which could have been possibly the reason that her and Moses' son wasn't circumcised. So begrudgingly, she performs the act of circumcision to save Moses' life, and hence her harsh declaration, "Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me." Now, again, symbolism-wise, this is pretty rich. See, blood often in the Bible is correlated with being shed for redemption, like in the case as far back as Genesis, where God kills an animal to clothe Adam and Eve. And then later on, of course, we see in the Old Testament that all the Israelite sacrifices for redemption and for paying for sin. And then, of course, more immediately, the upcoming Passover, where those who did not have the sign of the blood on the doors would be killed. And then, of course, we know ultimately in the New Testament, this ultimate sign of blood being shed for redemption was Christ, Jesus Christ. Now, why did Zipporah touch Moses' feet and throw it at his feet? We don't know. There's certainly a lot of different reasons proposed. It could be that the feet was the most dirty part of the body and she just had a disgust and basically touched that part. Or it could have just been a sign of submission or an association with marital duties, like in the case of Ruth. We see that in Ruth 3:4. So anyways, that's kind of the gist of the story and why God sought to kill Moses, because it was a matter of obedience and disobedience.